Everyone's always talking about how we need to work together to make things better, but it hardly ever seems to work out that way, right? I want to tell you a story about a time when it really did happen, 50 years ago, when the world looked a lot different than it does today. It started right here, in a real supermarket in the real world. The stakes may not have seemed very high, but everybody agreed that this little price sticker wasn't going to cut it anymore. So they imagined something better. Something that would save people time and money by helping to identify all the stuff we buy and how much it costs. Believe it or not, it took a lot of really smart people to make this happen, and even then, success was uncertain. But big problems call for big solutions, and a few bold business leaders stepped forward to do something nobody thought was possible. They put aside their differences and worked together to create a new and better way to shop. In other words, goodbye price sticker. On March 31st, 1971, 50 years ago now, this group of leaders met up in New York City, and they agreed on 3 things. First, they agreed to collaborate on a way to tell this can of soup apart from this other can of soup. They called it a Global Trade Item Number, or GTIN for short. It's kind of like an ID card number for things. Second, they agreed to think big. They knew the creation of this number was just the beginning. Eventually, they imagined it could be used outside the grocery store checkout counter, from warehouses to boardrooms and everywhere in between. Lastly, they agreed to innovate. They decided to continue working together on a barcode that would make everybody happy.
I think the major concern was that we have these black lines on here, defacing my label.
My committee took 2 years to be sure that there was equipment out there that could read it, and that we could tie it into cash registers and that it would work.
Just imagine if 2 barcodes couldn't be read by the same scanner. It would be chaos. And so for this to take off, everyone had to speak the same language.
2 years later, they finally had one that was easy to print and easy to scan too. It took a few more years just to add another digit onto the GTIN number. That may not sound like a big deal, but that one extra digit allowed barcodes to travel all over the world. It's hard to imagine, but back then, a tiny product code pushed the limits of data processing almost to the breaking point.
I think it took us 3 years to have scanning in all of our stores.
It's hard to imagine now, but years ago, this was just sheer magic.
Flash forward to today, and a phone that fits in your pocket can do almost anything. And in the 50 years since that meeting in New York, that kernel of an idea grew and grew across business and across industries, thanks to leaders all over the world. Today, barcodes are used billions and billions of times a day.
It isn't an engineering task, it isn't a business task, it's a leadership task. And the fact that they pulled it off is one of the great achievements in standards in history.
Those scans and little beeps are what we see and hear every time we go to the grocery store. But it's the data behind those scans and beeps that has completely transformed our lives and the way we interact with the world around us. Today, we expect so much more information about the things we buy. We need to be able to identify a product not just among other options on the shelf, but among every other product in the world, from a store you can carry in the palm of your hand. We need to know if a product, like this can of soup, is authentic, whether it's been recalled or expired, and where the ingredients came from. Can I order it with voice command? Can you deliver it to me in 2 hours? That would be nice too. But this isn't just about grocery shopping. Today, information about a product can literally mean the difference between life and death. Healthcare professionals are facing a constant challenge to deliver the highest level of care possible to as many patients as possible by getting them the right medicines, medical devices, and of course, vaccines safely. Meeting those challenges has required the healthcare industry to make big changes, often driven by regulation, while addressing the need for global interoperability. So, they embraced an advanced barcode called the GS1 Data Matrix for medicinal products. This new barcode contains more than just the GTIN number. It helps ensure patients are getting a safe, unexpired product and links that information to patient records automatically. The good news is, those innovations can now be applied to retail and other industries as well. And that brings the story full circle.
3 things got us to where we are: leadership, community, and standards.
The time has come to once again collaborate, think big, and innovate. Meeting the challenges of tomorrow requires a new set of leaders who will embrace opportunities to make the world a better place in big and little ways. The truth is that consumers like me have more control today than ever before, and big companies have a choice to make. They can either embrace this new reality or become as obsolete as this old CD. That's a good one. The companies that understand how important it is to meet and exceed people's expectations are the ones most likely to stand the test of time. Today, businesses are staring down the same 3 challenges they faced 50 years ago. And with more and better data needed than ever before, this little barcode just isn't going to cut it anymore. To do so, leaders need to think big. If a barcode number is like an ID card number, then products today need a website and social media account too. The GTIN will last another 50 years, but leaders have a chance to innovate and improve on it by embracing a more powerful version of the humble little barcode. One that will help a stressed out dad confirm that a candy bar doesn't contain peanuts. One that will help a customs officer working the night shift confirm that your product isn't counterfeit. One that will help people like me connect to your product in more meaningful ways than ever before. And yes, one that will still go beep at the checkout counter. I'm proud to have been a part of this group. We pass the baton to you. And that is so exciting. I wish I had another 30 years to put to this. Getting this right is the challenge of a generation. The next 50 years begins today.